You might get it on the norovirus, 2 to 3 days, but it will be infectious.
I saw that 2 weeks. That's crazy. All right. Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, January 2nd. Happy New Year. It's 9 o'clock. Call this meeting of the Board of Harbor Commissioners for the Town of LaPointe to order. With us this morning, we have Susan Widmar, Evan Erickson here, myself, Ben Carlson here, Michael Collins via Zoom
here.
Staff present, Katie and Lauren are both here. And for the public, we have John and Elizabeth Ellis Carlson. Absent Jay Wiltz. You got top billing.
Of course.
I guess let's open the floor to public comment. We had several public comments submitted. Elizabeth, since you're here, do you want to address this or would you prefer if I read it? Okay. To the Harbor Commission, please read aloud with the response and respond with the results of this request. As a full-time island resident and employee on the mainland, I am dependent on the 5 p.m. transport from the mainland home Monday through Friday. I work full-time Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. through 4:30 p.m. and regularly take the 5 p.m. ferry home. I was surprised to see as of January 3rd, that the last boat to the island Monday through Thursday is at 4 p.m. and Friday at 5. This schedule change would require me to lose 1 hour of work Monday through Thursday and require the use of 4 hours of general leave weekly. This proposed schedule is unrealistic and insensitive to families working full-time jobs on the mainland. This puts an extreme hardship for those who currently and or hope to live on Madeline Island. How do you expect families to live on the island and pay the continuous increased costs of ferry passage if the ferry schedule restricts them from working in order to do so? Requesting this schedule be revised to the last boat Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Please address this issue immediately, as this schedule change will impact the financial stability of all who work full-time jobs on the mainland. Please contact me as soon as possible with this issue resolved. Elizabeth Ellis. The only comment that I have in reply to that is we have extended the current schedule through the 10th. Beyond that, we're working with MIFL and it's totally going to be ice dependent. We're still negotiating, I guess.
And it's on the agenda for this meeting, right? We have a discussion of that.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'll just keep rolling through these because there's quite a pile. This one is from Jeff Boutine. To the members of the town of LaPointe and the Madeline Island Ferry Line. As a contractor to the Bayfield and Madeline area for many years, working on Madeline has its many challenges, from logistics to finding employees who will work on the island to getting materials and yes, even the boat schedule. The current 7 o'clock to the island can be difficult at times to make on time for people traveling from as far as Herbster to make the boat on time if traveling is difficult. Changing the schedule to 6:45 not only makes it more difficult for those people traveling to make the boat, it also makes getting the morning everyday things for the daily job more difficult, as businesses are usually closed at this time in the morning and they are closed when we return to the mainland. I would hope that you reconsider your January 3rd to freeze up schedule and possibly go back to the pre-COVID schedule, which seemed to be working. Thank you for your time, Jeff Boutine. The next is from Honey Dale, our postmaster. Greetings. I hope this is a good way to contact you. This is your one and only local postal worker asking for some consideration as you decide on upcoming ferry schedules. In terms of the Saturday schedule, the post office closes at 12:45 and currently the next boat to the mainland is 2:30. So a bit of a wait for me on what is potentially my somewhat shorter day. Please consider a trip closer to 1 o'clock if possible. Thanks for your time, Honey Dale. And last but not least, I don't remember who this one is from. Stu Baker. Hello, today is the second time in about 6 months that the ferry has turned around for late passengers. First time, we were leaving Bayfield and clear of the break wall when the boat went back for one truck. I asked the crew how to get on the VIP list for back to dock treatment. I was told there's only one Cedric. Then again today, on the first boat leaving the island, untied and on the way to come back for two cars that were not at the dock when the boat tied back up. Putting pressure on the timeline to get to Superior for a scheduled surgery. This is frustrating given the following experiences also occurred in 2024. Boat was full of cars, left before the scheduled time by over 10 minutes. We were walking on and were late for our appointment after waiting for the next boat. Was walking to the boat island side and they raised the ramp once my foot hit the wood ramp. Yes, maybe 20 feet from the boat. Wait for the next one. Slept in the vehicle at the dock in Bayfield. Last boat was still inside the break wall when I pulled to the ramp. Did not come back for me. Took the first boat from Bayfield, incurred hotel stay, could not make last boat day before by 1 hour. Had a meeting for work at 8:15, need to be home to take it. Boat is seemingly waiting for someone as it's 7:10. We're loaded but not moving. 7:15, we were told to move our vehicles to a different spot on the deck. A few more vehicles were loaded and we left close to 7:20. I was late for the meeting. This makes me feel like whoever we were waiting for, their time is more important than mine to Miffle or Miffle LLC. Who is deciding whose time is more important than others? Is it the same person that is imposing their sin tax and stealing from family? Maybe, maybe not. Perhaps I did not understand the rules and processes correctly. These are being perceived as nonlinear applications of whatever policy is. I understand the lake and weather are uncontrollable factors and tried to use only fair weather examples. Lastly, please consider a subcompact vehicle rate. 8.8 feet long, being charged as a 16-foot vehicle currently. Thank you for your time. Martin Novak.
I'd just like to make a public comment thanking all the crew that worked both on Christmas Day and New Year's Day.
Agreed. Go ahead.
I was wondering if you guys are gonna have a newsletter, if there's a quarterly report or a quarterly profit and loss in there, so everybody can see how Ferry Line's doing throughout the year. Since we are supposedly the owners of it.
Still under development, but we'll certainly take that into consideration.
That is a page that's being factored in, how much is going to be added to that and what to actually add.
Yeah.
With that, if there's no more public comment, we can jump right into the Marketing Communications Committee updates. Oh, Robin, go ahead.
It's not really a public comment, but we are working on the school kids transport issue, and there's a question about homeschool or open enrollment students. They are not registered with Bayfield School, so do we charge them or do they go free? And how do you treat them during the school year versus the summer?
They're island residents.
Island residents would have to be 6 months or more a year, technically. Okay, they might have a house over here, they might have a house on the mainland.
I don't.
Put it on the
Yeah,
agenda
let's
for next.
put it on the agenda. Maybe we can get some more background.
We're hoping to start that,
The new pass system.
yeah, like, we need to get your signature on that letter, well, and I saw it,
Okay.
I didn't bring it with me today. But we're thinking about starting on Monday, I think it's 13th.
And who's gonna mail that? That was another question that I should have asked.
I think Leanne said we can, find addresses for most of them.
I'll get a copy of that signed and sent over to you today.
Okay. Or I have the original at the office, it doesn't matter.
Whatever you prefer. Now we could go into the Marketing and Communications Committee updates with Lee. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, with apologies for sounding like a frog. I just wanted to introduce the progress made at the meeting we had a couple of days ago. And what we focused on in this idea of a web page is to recognize the distinction between what the Fairyline is doing, what Miffle does so well, basically communicating to tourists. In our case, we were thinking of constructing a website that addresses the stakeholder, very much like John Carlson just mentioned. So we began an editing function that sort of focused on the Miffle website, giving information about the destination, but we would give data very much like what John was talking about. The timing of something like this would be probably not this in about a month. We could announce in the Gazette, not this issue, but the next issue, actual performance data, operating data versus a year ago, budget and finance information that shows performance versus budget, the kinds of things a stakeholder would want to see. But we can't do that just yet, but we could use the Gazette to announce the fact that this is coming and to give specific information about what kind of things it will contain. The questions about what the data will include, I think may be obvious, but I would refer to the commission on that, and that is the traffic volume, especially versus a year ago, and financial performance. One other thing is that you're sitting with at the table Susie, who is, we discovered, this is not her first rodeo. She knows websites and knows them very, very well. So the mechanics of shaping something like this, I think we're in good hands. And that's the end of my sort of introductory remark. But I think we've got a launch opportunity in the next issue of the Gazette.
Michael, that's a great introduction, and I don't need to spend a whole lot of the Harbor Commission's time summarizing. So I had a great meeting with Michael, Susan, and Katie, and we went through almost not line by line, but paragraph by paragraph on the copy that I'm proposing at this point. Anyway, we raised some great questions, and yet things yet to be determined, and especially as Michael mentioned, regarding budget and financing and so forth. But I think that's a really important distinction between the tourist population audience and the stakeholder audience. Anyway, I'm getting feedback from Michael and Susie and Katie on various aspects of the copy, and we're proceeding. So anyway, questions or for me or for Michael or our group or whatever? Okay. Again, I just really want to thank you guys for letting me be part of this. It's a fun volunteer project. So thank you.
Thank you.
We're very grateful.
Go ahead, Robin.
I spent quite a few hours yesterday working on some of the questions that were posted in the newsletter. And I'm not exactly sure that all that data should be shared in the newsletter.
On the web.
Yeah,
Yes.
one of the questions is, how much does it cost to take a vehicle? Or how much does it cost to ride? And there's a great difference between winter and summer. And it would not be fair to say there's not just one cost. And I don't have access to the financing costs, because you've got financing costs in the Harbor Commission. So if, according to my numbers, and there's no financing cost for Harbor Commission, budget in there, 65 or around $59-60 to haul a vehicle in January. So if you say it's cost, say $60 plus financing to haul a vehicle in January. And then you say it costs, you know, say it costs $12 to haul a vehicle in the summer. Why is the price $15.50? So we want to be
Rob,
accurate, but we don't want to, you know, cause questions.
Well, yeah, there are rates open to the public right now.
Well, the rates are open to the public, but what the question was, what does it cost?
Uh,
I think there's a miscommunication
yeah,
with the term cost, and you're thinking, I think, Robin, of cost as what's the ferry line's cost to bring a
He
car
said, how
over.
much does it cost, or?
Yeah.
yeah, and that can be a semantic.
Yeah,
thing, where it's-
I'm guessing they were thinking
What's the
more
price?
price, the fare
Well, it's
versus.
on the website, why would you have to have it in free?
That's right, we found some of that kind of.
Here's a link to the,
Stuff.
you could always just say, here's a link to the,
Right,
The rate.
we have a lot
Current
of
rate.
stuff to sort through.
And there are already FAQ questions on our website.
Right.
There's also information about every boat, how many engines. And everything. So.
Robin, I'll just say thank you for working on that. You know, these are the fun fact questions that I had just thought, you know, put out there. Not all of them need, I think, again, this is a Harbor Commission decision about which ones we run with and which ones we delete. But thank you for your time on you know, coming up with answers to the questions that I had thought of. So thank you.
And basically, what I understand, the town's purchase of the ferry line is a break even. Self-funding, so the cost would be what you charge. Okay,
Yeah,
so I mean, that's the ultimate goal.
right. Thank you.
shall we move on to the minutes of the 12/18 meeting?
Move to approve the minutes from the December 18th, 2024 meeting.
Second,
There's no discussion. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Review of the Spicota ambulance billing contract.
We're scheduled to have a meeting with Sarah tonight.
Not tonight anymore. She said that her and Liz had plans to meet, work out some kinks, and
Okay.
she suggested after that. I just thought you guys could see the current contract the town has, basically showing like how much the town pays for their work. It's just 10% of whatever they collect at $250 minimum.
per month, wasn't it per month?
Yep.
They've been, I mean, compared to the numbers that the previous billing company was collecting, they are definitely collecting way more than the previous billing company, so that's good. I think only once we've had to pay the $250 minimum. In November. They're very responsive. I have talked to Brittany, and she used to be the I don't know, I guess our person, she's gotten promoted, so there's a new gal that's gonna be working on the town's account, but she's very responsive. I've asked her about doing this when it first came up, when you guys were working on the budget, and she said she didn't see why it couldn't be done, but probably as a separate account, not on the same account as the town's. So she does know that it's special.
So that would be a separate 250 minimum a month then.
Yeah. At $250 being collected, so $25.
Oh,
10% of $250.
oh, okay, so it's not a $250 a month. Okay, got it. That's a lot different.
Yeah,
That is.
10% of minimum $250 collected.
Got it.
So even if they don't collect it.
Okay. What are we thinking of as far as having collect? For example, are there things, say, when the ambulance, let's just say the ambulance goes over, they incur a ferry charge. And I don't know if, Robin, it sounds like in many cases, you're not able to collect that ferry charge from the patient that went over, nor from the town.
Right, we're not a medical provider, so, you know, and typically, in more recent years, insurance companies, they don't care. I mean, I shouldn't say they don't care, but they say, well, don't you have a boat going from the island to the roof? You know what I mean? It's, you know, they don't see the ferry, they don't always see the ferry charge as a part of the provisional service. Okay, and a lot of times, we'll send out a bill, and you know this, Evan, that, if it's a special trip, it's, you know, $700 plus. the
Plus the
fares.
waiting fee.
Right, if it's a, and if it's a trip during a special trip during the day versus at night, you have to operate hours and that kind of stuff, and so. There's a fair number of, quite a large number of, trips that are not collected for. We do. We prefer, it's kind of like working with your banker, you prefer that the customer talk to you versus just ignore your letters.
Mhm.
And if people talk to us, we will work out something that's amenable to both parties.
I think it'll be more user friendly for the patient as well.
Is this what, I mean, is it
It'll be
that
easier.
kind of, that we're looking at having this company also collect it in addition to the ambulance service fee?
The ambulance, they currently do collect the ambulance
Right.
service charge. This would include the ferry trip right into that billing, which would make it easier in my mind to push it through insurance or have insurance cover it.
Exactly, and that's one reason why I'd like to see this pushed through is that, you know, essentially when LaPointe EMS sends out their bill for the transport, it's including the ferry fee. So an insurance company sees that as part of the transport. And then also, you know, we have a better chance of collecting it without the office staff having to deal with becoming a collection agency and letting this company, this is what they do already.
Are we thinking of using this company only for that additional item? Or are we thinking of having this collection agency collect, I don't know, delinquent room accommodation taxes or anything along that line? Is that?
I think
contemplated?
they're specific to medical billing.
Yeah, because their title is medical billing.
Okay, all right, thanks.
And we do have a $15,000 line item in the budget for bad debts, so this will hopefully eliminate that,
Or reduce it.
reduce it.
Yeah,
I think we dropped it to 10,000.
thanks.
I did have a conversation with Sarah she called me on Monday. Because she was a little bit in the dark with all of this and trying to get caught up with being the new ambulance director. And her biggest concern was she didn't want any of the bad debt from uncollected fares for the transports on her budget. Now, I don't know, I mean, in the end, it's the town's money no matter what, so, you know, whether it's EMS's budget or our budget, but I think overall for the town, the best way to collect payment and the best option for patients who have insurance that can have transport paid for is to have this go through medical billing. And I mean, the EMS, the boat transport is part of the medical lifeline of being over here. And I'm sure it would make your job a lot easier.
Yeah, and I think we had an offline conversation, Zach, about. I don't know if you set up parameters for collection to communicate with the person who needed that ambulance.
Yeah, if it were a year-round local, perhaps
Right,
with a good reputation for paying or whatever the case may be, prior to contacting collections for it, we could give them the opportunity to pay the town directly
right, yeah, so. it would
and
be
potentially even set up a payment plan if they were.
Sure.
More sensitive to.
I think the best thing would be was for some of us, Sarah, and I imagine a representative from this company to get together and have a full conversation. And maybe Liz, I don't know how involved.
She's also still learning kind of like.
Yeah. So I think that's just gonna be the best way to move forward is to get us all together in a meeting to figure out what the best way to go about is.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Don't want to speak on a turn or anything. I do remember, I am on the EMS service, and I do remember that we had a meeting and it was the insurance companies didn't have a code for transport on the ferry. That's the big stipulation. So I would think before you guys make any decisions on how any of this goes, I would talk to Sarah, talk to your basically your collection agency to find out what, because I know we were supposed to write, had to take a ferry across, had to use that in our run report. Make sure you had to take ferry across lake to get patient to care. But we were told finally that there was no code for a ferry transport.
And I mean, the ferry charge doesn't have to be a separate charge within the bill. It could just be added on. I don't know how they make.
I don't know, but I would wait before you guys start making any great decisions, talk to Sarah.
Yeah,
that's
we're gonna have to talk to Sarah and this collection agency.
Ambulance.
Anything else on that? Let's go into Katie's report then.
So I just have the current balances of the Harbor bank accounts as of the 13th. We do have access to, we now have the $500,000 line of credit that went into our utility account. And then we also have transferred the funds for the 2025 GEO loan payment. That is now sitting in our debt service fund where it's supposed to be. But the utility checking account right now is just over 645,000.
Did we put the full 500,000 into that account? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
But then I did transfer that remaining amount for the GEO loan that was not already in the debt service fund savings account to that. The December revenue was just over 135,000, which was actually about 22,000 more than what we had budgeted for the income for the month of December. Updates for the last meeting, we did have a few remaining budget questions that I was asked. One was that the employee wages, did that include any bonuses? Does not include any bonuses in that amount. And then also Robin is going to get me a kind of a breakdown of the legal expenses and kind of if there's anything expected as to why, and that will hopefully kind of sum up why we have that 20,000 for that line item. I think it is it's a later agenda item, but I have included the current ferry schedule. And then the last thing is the Marine General Liability update. Still working with James. I'm giving him our current general liability policy. The biggest thing is the dock, making sure that the coverage is not covered twice between what he's proposing and also what we currently have already for our general liability policy. It's been kind of back and forth trying to get a meeting scheduled with all different entities. But I think I'm just now working with James moving forward with that. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
I'll move that we place the Chief Administrative Officer's report on file.
I'll second.
There's no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, January 2025 through freeze up schedule discussion.
Well, I think for one that, we need to keep having a 5 o'clock Monday through Friday, at least. 4 o'clock from the island, Monday through Thursday is just way too early for people who are coming, from work and anyone who has an appointment over in Ashland or Duluth to get back. And I don't ever remember there being, a last vote at 4 o'clock this time of year. I don't think even last year we were running a schedule like that.
I've got the schedule from 23 and 24. That was, we did not run a 5 o'clock from the mainland. Last one was 4.
Well, it seems to me that the ice is really the gating issue, and that as long as we don't have ice,
But we have ice on the landings. We have ice on boats. And we've got cold weather coming in. The harbor's gonna be freezing. And, you know, you're operating in the dark.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time till significant damage goes.
I don't think anybody, I certainly don't want us to risk significant damage by operating at night with ice. I guess
So it's
my,
not just ice, you know, it's not just the ice flowing around, it's ice at landings, it's ice on. You know, and then also people getting on off boat, you know, it's right this morning, I was doing it, they had, you know, salt or whatever.
still dark.
It's still dark. And our, you know, our captains, you know, their licenses. And it's a dark, and it can be snowy, and it's hard, you know. Not really.
I'm curious from what was like posted on the Ferry Lines website, did the schedule for 2024 in January change? What was posted? Because it does say a Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock. To Island.
Well, that's,
I don't know, I went back to 23, that's what I had, did not do it. And 23 was, you know. Here before.
I think that was prior to the schedule change that was proposed on January 3rd, which has now been moved back to the
Just
10th.
nothing posted up, no. I can't say that, because I just wouldn't recommend it. Fortunately, climate change or whatever we're going through does not mean palm trees. It means almost worse operating weather, because you have ice fields, you have long exposure time for the boats and the rudders and to bad conditions. The Island Queen is on its last legs with the rudder and the shoe. We're told the shipyard next time we're gonna build the whole thing. Because it hits up as it backs up into the dock. And at night, you can't really watch the capes either, it's hard. You know, lights down there,
The ice cakes, is that,
ice cases, usually you have somebody on the end of the dock pushing the capes up the way.
I think ultimately, it should be the weather that dictates the change. And that's probably gonna be after this week, if we get the cold that is anticipated, so
Well, and the point had we ran inside, for the last couple of days because of the weather, you know, the west winds would ice down the outside. So it's. The other thing that Cal and I have talked about a little bit, but haven't really brought up is the low water. It's going to. Right now, we're down to concrete. Water is lower, we will not be able to use some of the boats on certain landings. Because you can't lower the dock.
Right.
And you can't have a heavy truck come on there, and that includes propane trucks. Can't have a heavy truck come on there because, the ramp is like this when you, with nothing on there, and then the propane truck comes down and it goes like this,
Mhm.
then the tip of the ramp will hit the bottom of the truck.
Are you running the La Pointe today? And that's,
That's got limited time.
right.
What do we think about the 6:45 boat? Potentially being a 7 o'clock, or as Honey had requested something earlier than the
I
current.
think it was a 2:45.
Yeah, it was, and we just, I went over there and talked to her, and, basically she was staying over here an hour or two, not getting paid for her whole back. I said if we could deal with it a couple different ways, we could post something, then she could go talk to Kathy, the postmaster in Bayfield. And that's what she did, and Kathy said we can change the time, the closing time to 1:45, so she could get on 2 o'clock.
Okay, that's great.
Great.
She does a good job over here.
Absolutely.
Till the post office.
Yeah.
As far as the 6:45,
The
at some point, it makes sense when ice dictates the longer trip and slower passage and saving of fuel. But it's not something I think we should jump into until it's required.
Keep in mind that the sun rises at 7:48.
The problem is 6:45, it's not so much about ice, it's about getting the snow removed. Plenty of time.
It would give them extra time to remove.
So, but I mean, going back and forth, okay, so that would mean you have a lot more text messages coming out, because, okay, it's gonna snow tonight, we're going to, you know, leave a little earlier. You know, these art groups get in there at, you know, if it leaves at 6:45, they gotta get in there at 6. Or earlier to get the snow out of the lot before the customers come in and park. So it doesn't mean that the boat would leave, and this is my interpretation. Yeah, it doesn't mean that the boat will leave at 6:45, but we could leave that early if the weather conditions require it.
Right,
So,
and then-
because you can't make that happen, because you are not gonna get school kids back to Bayfield on time. Or even teachers.
Yeah, it impacts. It's a daisy chain down the line.
Right.
Boats.
So that's why, it's a different way of looking at it, but the concern was to keep the trips on the half hour leaving the island. Because it's really hard to go from 8:15 to 8:45, you know, it's hard to do. So this was the idea to give enough time between the trips that you could do snow removal, that you could allow for longer transit times, because you don't wanna be going, so-called full speed ahead when you've got stuff in there.
Right.
That's,
But I think that when there is ice would be the time to make the change.
well, then we can just do more tests.
Or we could, the schedule could be changed pretty easily. You change it on the website.
Yeah, you can, but that person that's going to work that next day.
Well, it could be done with a notice, I think, just like no one saw the January 3rd schedule change coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Here, once every day, we watch very carefully.
Well, it's posted at the dock or no?
Online.
Yeah.
And the same thing we could run the current schedule until weather dictates that we can't, and then otherwise I don't really have a problem with this when there's ice. And I don't know that it's a decision we can even make right now. I think it's gonna take more negotiation, but that would be my recommendation.
Are we still talking?
And that,
Friday, from 5 o'clock? Still talking Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock?
I think until the ice comes in, stick with the current schedule. I forget the date on it. That would have ended, I guess, on the 2nd.
Yes, the December 2nd through January 2nd.
Through the 10th, is that right?
Right.
It's currently through the 10th, right? And after that, that's why I'm hesitant to even make any change here. It might be at the 10th. This is necessity because
Yeah.
we're gonna be freezing temperatures and then ice and then,
Need to give the customers some notice. We can, and actually, Cal did the, check the weather that time. The lake is ready to make ice. Farmers are already making significant ice. January 6th and 7th is looking single digits. I saw that this morning. 8 through 10 is possible below zero. You know about that. On the 12th, it's going back to teens. So,
And I had a conversation with Cal and myself about this when the schedule first came out. There are financial ramifications to cost savings in fuel and crew times, and that's certainly a concern on both sides, both ends.
I'm gonna pretend. 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, it's a sub-zero overnight. Yeah.
And I think, I mean, even with current weather, I think we could see skim ice any night if it's cold.
right.
I still think we should try to accommodate the 5 o'clock. We're gaining daylight every day.
But we currently are through the 10th.
Yeah, I'm just saying moving
So-
even past the 10th.
Cal said he could make it work through the 17th, and
Yeah.
I said maybe plan for that, but because of unknown conditions, we'll put out public notice for the 10th, and then we'll have time to make a change if necessary.
Yeah,
It sounds reasonable. I agree, but we should try to keep the 5 as long as we can.
I'll have this on the agenda for next meeting.
Be the 9th.
So what is the schedule? Looking at the website right now and it says as of today.
It's the schedule that we've been running since the middle of December.
That runs through January.
This one says.
That'd be-
January 2nd, so I'm just looking.
Yeah, that's the schedule we're running.
If you look above that
There's a note,
photo,
like a
above the
notice above
graphic,
it.
it says there's a line that says this is going to be ran through the 10th. Yeah, I don't think they can change the graphic information, but it says above there. No, we need to operate schedule posted below through the 10th, so. That's good. Yeah, okay.
Robin, when are you planning to post this one though? What it will switch to after the 10th?
It was on social media, that schedule with the start date of the 10th.
Okay, because that was one other.
And I think it's on the website.
request.
Lauren, did you say you saw it on the website?
It's not on the website right now.
Okay. All right.
Well,
Oh,
it
nasty.
has the original date of the 2nd, and then above it, it says this is actually going through the 10th.
Okay.
The 6:45 version
Yeah.
has not been posted yet.
That was taken down. It was posted.
Okay.
I think
It was
I think
taken
it
down.
was reposted with that start date of the 10th. I thought the January 3rd one was removed, social media post, but
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
She removed that and then posted the till January 2nd one, saying that's gonna run until the 10th.
right.
and I think isn't the 10th on Monday or Saturday?
I think it's a Friday.
Friday. Because
Well, it goes to the 10th, so that means that the work week is done on Friday and then the new schedule would start on Saturday. So you would need to give a couple of days, it should be posted by 6, 7
Monday, Tuesday.
for. Just so people find it.
I agree with that.
So, but,
Much notice as possible.
next Wednesday.
it's Wednesday.
Yes.
And I understand the harbor's freezing up earlier and having to break through ice there. Just have to, I guess, see what the weather does. That's all we can do.
But right now, you're saying post at 6:45 next Wednesday,
Starting with,
Starting on
uh,
the tenth.
which would start that Saturday.
11th, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, then that would be date Jan 10 or Jan 11.
And we could move our meeting up potentially to Wednesday, maybe next week.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Anyone have anything else on the scheduled discussion? Let's see. All right, let's move on then to the update for the Wisconsin surplus auction.
surplus, the auction wraps up tomorrow, around 10:30. Now most of the bidding happens within that last hour of the auction closing. The fridge truck is at, $5,500 now, which I think is pretty good for the fact that we're in the last 24 hours. I did
And
get.
there is a reserve.
There is a reserve of 22,000, which, I received an email from them this morning on some of the items and their reserve numbers. And if we want to make any adjustments, and so I'm asking the rest of the commission if they want to stick with that 22,000 reserve or adjust it. Within, a couple thousand of that, if it goes for 20. I don't want to be the sole decision maker on that.
I don't see a problem with accepting 20.
We'll see what it goes for. And I mean,
Or we wait.
we can always wait and re-auction it. I'm gonna have some vehicles to auction. Mid-spring or so, early summer.
And the town couldn't just like sell it as a. Do we have to use the auction format?
I think I'm not quite sure, but I think it does have to be some sort of auction format in
Okay.
order to sell items. Unless there's something in there where the board can make a decision. I'm not quite sure on the statutes on that.
I think we found that using the auction is really the best and fairest way to do it.
And I mean, the one trailer's at $1,000 right now and the other one's at 415. And if I remember correctly, we're essentially doing a trade with Public Works. So the half ton that's gonna be auctioned off will be in trade for that 98 plow truck that the Public Works received. So there should be some income from that as well. So if it's okay with you, I'll tell Wisconsin Surplus that, we'll take as low as 20, but I don't think any lower.
Is that just a matter of resetting the reserve?
It's all on their end.
Because does it show on the listing that there's a reserve?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so.
So we'll see, at 11 o'clock tomorrow, what everything goes for.
Do we
And I
want,
can send out an email when it's concluded.
do we want a motion to reduce the reserve price on the refrigerator truck from 22 to 20,000?
Probably would make more sense too.
Then so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to the bills. December payroll in the amount of $66,597.80. That's it?
I'll make a motion that we approve the bills for payment to Miffle for $66,597.80.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
One comment, I don't think the town board has yet approved the commission budget yet. I think we're gonna do that on Monday. And so I believe that probably, the town board will need to, also approve this one
Okay.
until after they approve the budget.
All right.
Even though it's just,
Yeah, that was.
It's when it's,
Okay.
okay,
so right now it's being paid and, yeah,
yeah,
it's been paid in January. So.
You want to? Do we need another cover sheet with town
Yeah,
board
yeah.
signatures on there?
yeah, I'll redo it, and make sure
Okay.
it's the whole thing.
Should we move past? I move that we move, agenda item 12 up, future agenda items. Or that we move agenda item 11 to the end.
I'll make a motion that we move agenda item 11, review of the NIPL management contract, to the end of the meeting.
All right,
We will say after number 14.
sure.
Yep.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Future agenda items?
I have the question of the students that are homeschooled or open roles, period, ridership, scheduled discussion.
Tariff discussion.
your discussion.
Okay.
Would that then be the time to hear about the auction results or?
Oh, yeah, and then, yeah, final update on auction items. And then we have the schedule update
Yep.
too. Yeah.
Yeah,
You think we'll be able to meet you and I? How long are you planning to be sick?
Thank you.
right, who are you talking to?
Contact Collins.
Oh, to Collins.
Yeah,
Shall we add a committee update, Michael and Leanne, or Lee?
Yeah, yep.
you and I were gonna meet separately from Lee, go over some stuff.
Yeah.
When do you think you're gonna be feeling better, maybe?
Oh, I'm gonna feel better real quick.
As soon as the meeting's
So
over.
it's gonna end up being next week early if this medicine that they promise works. as
Okay.
well as they-
We can add it during the
Yeah,
week if
yeah,
if stars align.
thank you.
Get better.
And then an update of, ambulance billing, if we have a meeting with Sarah.
Oh, yeah, good idea. Or maybe we have Sarah at the meeting,
If she can make
potentially
it.
if she can make it. I know that was kind of what was planned for today, but. And then do we like the idea of meeting Wednesday?
I think that it's what's best for deciding the upcoming schedule.
Unfortunately, I have prior obligations, but that can't stop you guys from having, I can get everything set up ahead of time. Georgine start technologies.
Or I think Katie and I can handle it. Do we know if the room is clear?
I know.
Well, let's plan on Wednesday,
Wednesday, the 8th at 9 a.m.
sounds good to me.
I
have a question.
think Katie.
And then public comment B.
Really nervous about the vote. They can't go through the ice the way it is. Maybe we're leaving today. I'm kind of concerned. Is it gonna make it?
If we're careful with it, they'll make it.
And secondly, I understand Robin's thing about how much a car costs in the winter versus what a car costs in the summer. But if you give an explanation to everybody on why it costs more, I don't think keeping anything from the public because of the cost is just gonna throw a red flag. You're gonna go, what's going on here? I think being upfront, explaining why it costs more in the winter, because there's less vehicles, and more in this, less in the summer, because there's more vehicles. It's pretty simple.
I think you could answer that question without getting into specific details either. You could say, well, how long is your car? How many passengers?
You know,
What's
it's,
the load per
I
trip?
think
Here's a link to this current schedule and rates.
we are requesting financial, which is our prerogative, but I don't think holding any information back.
Transparent.
I think more, better transparency or have question and answers. If you have questions, contact.
There is a spreadsheet floating out there calculating boat cost per hour. That needs to be more refined.
I don't think that's the question though.
But it shows how much
I
it
think-
costs and two, it shows that really the Island Queen and Nichebo, because of the low amount of hours that they receive, they are the highest cost per hour boat run, especially with winter conditions
And limited cargo.
and limited cargo space. But it's just an interesting fact for the public to know.
I think.
Was that the question? What does it cost to run the boat or what does it cost to ride the boat?
I think the original question,
So like,
That's how I read it, the cost, you know, not just what's posted on the rates. And I did this calculation a decade ago, and it's right in there, it's like 50 to 65, every month is different, December's a little less expensive, January, February, March are, you know, not good. I mean, since we've run, I think 8 years, year round, for all but 10 days, and this is gonna be our third season in a row of running the run. So it's
it's not over yet.
I don't
Go ahead. Elizabeth.
Just a tag team, I don't know if you would mention that, but I would appreciate, or first of all, my understanding is that there's going to be an increase for passage, there's gonna be an increase in cost, just for a ticket, not this other stuff. And during my daily Monday through Friday round trip rides, I noticed, as you've read my comments before, the variation in costs with tickets. I'm asking if there can be a way to be more transparent. One, if the price is going to increase in 2025 or whatever the season is, you know, beginning in the summertime or whatnot, for that to be posted early on, so the public can know that the prices are going to be raised. And I'd like to know when they go up and down and why they go up and down. It's a budget for me. Like, I know there's a business, I know, I get all that. But as the customer, I just still don't feel right in one day, a price being 50 cents more than it was the other day. And I get all the stuff about the stuff and the gas going up, but to me, if I go buy a dozen eggs on Monday at 12 and I go back on Tuesday at 8 and the price of the eggs go up and then they go back down, it's crazy making. And I think it's okay to know how much I'm spending. And I'm probably your most frequent flyer and I pay a lot of attention to that. But I really insist on more transparency and knowing, one, if the price of the tickets are going to go up, when they do, and the transition and the increase or the decrease. You have to be able to figure that out. You know, it's my budget. If I knew that the prices were going to go up by whatever it was, I have a screenshot of it, I would have bought 20 tickets at $6.35. Why not?
Right.
It's a savings for me. You can nitpick and you can say, oh, well, you know, it's not that much, you already discount. I'm tired of hearing that.
I understand your angst and the way the tariffs are written, it's complicated. And it's a programming issue within software that's utilized. It would be a major undertaking, I believe, not that we're not going to look at changing it, but I'll let Robin jump in. She has more
The
knowledge.
prices by during the year are posted on the bottom of every recharge ticket.
Yep.
So it says from blank to blank, it's $6.35, blank to blank, it's car and passenger. It takes a lot. to-
Aren't there are special Friday and weekend rates versus day rates?
It doesn't say after 3 p.m. on Friday, but it does have those rates in there. On every recharge, the bottom of the paragraph.
But I recharge my card. I give you $400.
Yeah.
I'm your bread and butter. One day I pay $7.35 after I recharge the card. And one day I pay $6.85 one way.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I just would like it to be more transparent and available to the public to understand. How much are you gonna pay this one?
I think you could probably put in a public records request for the tariff sheet and you would see exactly how everything is.
And maybe that could be something that could be made more public and available.
I'd like to do away with, I'd like to see a flat rate for passengers, a flat rate for each size vehicle. I think it would be much simpler, but we
Excuse me,
aren't quite
I
there
think
yet.
we're getting
Okay.
public comment. We're now
So
discussing.
I wanted to
Oh,
mention that,
yes.
and I wondered, does the price also vary for the regular customer? So if they come on a Tuesday, do
Yep.
they pay more or less than they do on a Wednesday? So those are my comments. Again, more transparency would really help me out. I will continue to fund the ferry as I work on the mainland. So that's all I have to say.
I'd like to make a public comment, it's two things. One, the tariff rates are posted on the town's website under the fee schedule or somewhere near there. So you wouldn't even have to make a public records request to find that information. And then secondly, if someone wanted to know the budgeting, profit loss, all that stuff, that can be public requested in the meantime while they're trying to get on the website, if you wanted to look for that.
Great, let's revisit agenda item 11, review of the Mifflin management contract.
I'll make a motion that we go closed session for state statute 19.851E.
I'll second that. Roll call vote, Michael Collins,
Aye.
Susan Whitmire,
Aye.
Kevin Erickson.
Aye.